Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 3, The Lord's Pastimes out of Vrindavan, and it will be text 7. So 3, 3, 7. Tatra hrita naradeva kanyaha.
Tatra hrita naradeva kanya.
Kujena drushtva harim arta bandhum.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Vrida nuraga prahita valokai.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai.
Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanyaha.
Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Kujena drishtva harim arta bandhum.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Vrida nuraga prahita valoke.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai.
Tatra hritaस्थanaradeva kanyaha.
Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Kujena drishtva harim arta bandhum.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Vrida nuraga prahita valoke.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai.
Tatra hritaस्थanaradeva kanya.
Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Kujena drishtva harim arta bandhum.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Vrida nuraga prahita valoke.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai. Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai. Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai.
Tatra hritaस्थanaradeva kanyai.
Tatra hritaस्थanaradeva kanya.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Kujena drishva harim arta bandhum.
Uthaya sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Uthaya
sadyo jagrihuh praharsha.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai.
Vidanuraga prahita valokai.
Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Tatra ritasthanaradeva kanya.
Kujena Drishtva Harinam Artabandum
Ujjaina Vishvam Ahim Artabandum
Uttaya Sadyo Jagrihu Praharsha
Daya Sadyo Jagrihu Paharsha
Vridanuraga Prahitavalokai
Vidanuhaga Paitavalokai.
Okay, so we can do the word to word. Tatra.
Tatra.
Inside the house of Narakasura.
Inside the house of Narakasura.
Ahrita.
Ahita.
Kidnapped.
Kidnapped.
Ta.
Ta.
All those.
All those.
Naradeva Kanya.
Naradeva Kanya.
Daughter of many kings.
Daughters of many kings.
Kujena.
Ujjaina.
By the demon.
By
By
the
the
demons.
demons.
Drishtva.
Vishva.
By seeing.
By seeing.
Harim.
Harim.
The Lord.
The Lord.
Artha Bandhu.
Artabandhu.
The friend of the distressed.
The
Friend of the distressed.
Uthaya.
Uttaya.
At once got up.
At once got up.
Sadhya.
Satya.
Then and there.
Then and there.
Jagrihu.
Jagrihu.
Accepted.
Accepted.
Praharsha.
Praharsha.
Joyfully.
Joyfully.
Vrida.
Vida.
Shyness.
Shyness.
Anuraga.
Anuraga.
Attachment.
Attachment.
Prahita avaloke.
Rahita avalokai.
By eager glances.
By eager glances.
Vira Govinda Prabhu, would you mind to read the translation and purport? I need to go close a window.
Okay, I'll read it. Translation. There in the house of the demon, all the princesses kidnapped by Narakasura at once became alert upon seeing the Lord, the friend of the distressed. They looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness, and offered to be his wives. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Narakasura kidnapped many daughters of great kings and kept them imprisoned in his palace. But when he was killed by the Lord and the Lord entered the house of the demon, all the princesses were enlivened with joy and offered to become his wives because the Lord is the only friend of the distressed. Unless the Lord accepted them, there would be no chance of their being married because the demon kidnapped them from their father's custody, and therefore no one would agree to marry them. According to Vedic society, girls are transferred from the custody of the father to the custody of the husband. Since these princesses had already been taken away from the custody of their fathers, it would have been difficult for them to have any husband other than the Lord himself.
Okay, thank you. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet nastaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki Omagyanati mirandasya gyananchana shalakaya chaksurudmilita myena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Nama om Vishnu padaya Krishna prestaya bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pashyatade Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Garadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so I was very glad when I received the invitation to give the class today because I had so many experiences and realization that I was looking forward to share when it's convenient. And now I feel complete blank. I feel really nervous in the assembly of all these advanced devotees. And I all of a sudden I have nothing to say now that the opportunity is there. And this verse is like, yeah, I was really thinking a lot about like this principle, why the woman would not be married by anyone else. Like why the woman wouldn't be married after having another man. In this Kali Yuga, no woman would get married probably. At least most that I know, including myself. And I asked my husband, Yogeshwara Prabhu, what does he think? And he thought, that's obvious. If you could marry someone else after you get rid of myself, then you would do that. So that was the realization that we came to, that the mind of the woman is more peaceful when she knows she has one man and that's it. So after that problem is once solved, it's solved for the whole life. And it's not like that the husband dies and then the problems comes again to be solved, or that she divorces him and then the problem comes again. So it really brings a lot of peace in the mind of the woman and therefore in the whole society, because also the other way around, if the society is working this way, then if a man sees this woman is married, he will not, less likely, he will like try to attract her attention and interest. So I was thinking, well, but it's not really fair because these princesses were kidnapped. So they didn't choose to have a, like, you know, that wasn't their choice to be like unfaithful in this way. Of course, they weren't unfaithful because they didn't have a husband at the time. But like then I thought like maybe if it was okay, like, oh, if it really happens that the woman is a victim, then the rule should be like put aside. So then maybe so many women would be like waiting in some bushes and hoping that someone will kidnap them and like that, rape them. So that's all I have to say about this. And maybe later there can be more discussion. But of course, this is like a part of Lord Krishna's pastimes. So these are not ordinary women. And it's actually because of their prayer to have Lord Krishna as a husband. That's how Lord Krishna arranged for all of them to get him as a husband. So it's quite completely different story than a mundane story. And then so they are like really like miserable. They are kidnapped, miserable, in prison by Narakasura, and really helpless. And that only increases their longing for Lord Krishna to come save them and be their husband. I'm thinking a lot about like Devaki in the similar way, like, and she lost so many babies, and they knew the 8th child that will come will be a child that will be able to kill Kamsa. So they knew there will be 8th child and that the child will survive. And then the longing and the love for the unborn child is just like increasing unconceivably for Devaki. And so it seems like a similar like psychology to me here, that because they are like experiencing so much distress in the condition of the prison, then the longing for Lord Krishna to come and save them and be their husband is just like increasing millions of times. And then when he comes, they are completely like, in this Vedic time, the woman was always like surrendered to the husband and looking at him with great awe and reverence and respect. But if he's like a hero who comes to save her, that's a completely different story than if she's like princess, all comfortable in the house of the king, and then like choosing her husband. It's a completely different story of like how much the woman is like dependent on the husband. So that's the case of these women, of these princesses that Lord Krishna comes to save. And then there is a wedding, 16,100 weddings at one day. And Lord Krishna is present at every single one of these weddings as the groom, or how is it called? The future husband, the groom. And then he builds palaces for every one of his queen. He builds a beautiful palace and a beautiful garden with lakes and swans and lotus flowers, and he's treating every single one of them very personally and individually. So it's not like he's just like manifesting different qualities and different rasas from within himself to like completely match the psychophysical nature of his wife to be the perfect husband. And so Krishna, like even there, like he divides in 16,108 Krishnas, but he's not like that all the time, because in the morning, all of a sudden, all 16,107 Krishnas disappear, and there is only one, and he's going to meditate. That's how Krishna, as a king, starts his morning. Every day in the morning, he's getting up and he's going to meditate. And all the queens are so upset. It's like the time in the morning, right after the alarm clock, when we feel like, no, just like a little longer. And it feels like it's like the best for the senses, is the best moment of the day. Just like, this feels so good. I want it to last for like a little longer. So and this is like times, trillion times. And there is like the warmth of Krishna's body by their side, and this beautiful fragrance, and it's like they are hearing how he's breathing, and then all of a sudden the bed is cold and he leaves to meditate. So they feel like, no, Krishna, don't go yet. But Krishna is the ideal householder. That's the role that he's playing. Well, so he's going to start his day by meditation. So he's washing his mouth and his feet and hands, and he's going to meditate on himself. That's what Krishna meditates on. So we can imagine that he chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he's perhaps also meditating on his different pastimes. Like now Uddhava and Vedura are speaking, and it's like a little summary of the Krishna book and Krishna's pastimes. So he's meditating on his pastimes, and maybe also on his energies and his like different expansions. And then Krishna is always expanding, so he doesn't know himself. He's like catching up. It's the transcendental competition. So he expands, and then he's learning about himself. So in the morning, he's meditating on how he's expanding. And then as soon as like he has this realization or thought, it's manifesting, because his thoughts are not different from himself. So that's Krishna's morning. And then after that, he takes full shower. I think that's interesting. Not shower, but like a full bath. And he's going to take care for his duties. He's a king. So he's ruling the world, and I don't know if the whole world though. So he's going to his assembly hall. I was just reading that his assembly hall was stolen. It was stolen by the members of the Yadu dynasty from Brahmaloka. So Lord Krishna's assembly hall from Brahmaloka, from some heavenly planet. I see some questions there. Anyway, it's from some heavenly planet that he has stolen. The family members of Yadu dynasty stolen for him the assembly hall. So that's special. Like no other king ever had on earthly planet assembly hall from the demigod planet, and that's where Lord Krishna is like taking care for his daily tasks, like receiving guests and talking to his ministers and getting advice from the brahmanas. And then all the while, these wives are waiting for him, and that's all they can think about. Like, what is Krishna doing? Is he coming back home soon? And the day is so long. You say so long without Krishna. And then he comes back, and and they are so happy. They just like so happy that their husband is home. Just imagine. And then they they personally serve him and massage his feet and fan him and like take care for him. And Lord Krishna is playing with his children, and he's doing whatever, having some like jokes with his wives. Some of them are Krishna book, so you can read that book. It's really nice. So and then Krishna, 16,108 Krishnas. So he could have been all day long with all his wives while being with his duties, but he doesn't do that. Why? Because he likes to be welcomed. Like we have a movie in Czech, and there is a like old couple, and he's constantly leaving somewhere else. Not very good husband. And she doesn't want him to go. And he says, I'm a welcoming type. I like when there is like a big, nice welcoming. And for welcoming to be there, welcoming party to be there, there must be a leaving. So I'm leaving only, he says in the movie, I'm only leaving so then you can welcome me very lovingly. So that's what Krishna's doing. He's leaving so there can be a big welcoming party every day in all of his palaces. So these are very sweet, special pastimes. And then there are Vrindavan pastimes that are considered to be even more sweeter. And then how is it relevant for us? I was thinking the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are really non-different from the Vrindavan pastimes. So, and that's where the pastime of Lord Chaitanya and pastime of Lord Krishna are not different. The externals might be different. Lord Chaitanya doesn't have 16,108 wives. Maybe you noticed. He's a sannyasi, so he renounces one wife. And so the externals might be completely different, but the experience and the quality of the pastime is same. And so for us it's really relevant that the Lord Chaitanya's pastimes are not different from Srila Prabhupada pastimes. So, and then here we are in the middle of Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, and we can plug there. And I was already sharing in some other groups. Like we found a new place where to go on Harinam, and it's in Prague. And in Prague there is a big river with Vltava, and it has a, I don't know how is it called, like a bank. Yes, bank of the river, and there is like tourists. It's like Prague is like some places are really busy and the people are rushing here and there, but by the river somehow the water has this like cool down effect. So people are walking like it's a crowd, but they are walking very slowly in this like enjoying mood of the river. And the air there is very fresh. It's not like somehow the smoke and the dirty air from Prague doesn't get there. Like the river is emanating some like freshness. It smells very like attractive. The smell is very attractive. And there are the swans, like the swans are swimming on the river and like little boats going here and there, and the breeze and the weather this summer in Czech Republic was just like perfect, except 2 weeks when it was too hot. It was like absolute perfect weather. And so we would go on Harinams and we would walk by the river like for 4 hours, just like very slowly, like one way and then the other way. And maybe 2 or 3 times like that, it takes 4 hours. And it's just so, it's like for the mundane senses, so attractive. But I was thinking, like, this is like the description of Dwarka, like with the beautiful gardens and swans and lakes, and everything is just so pleasing, and the fragrances. So, but it wasn't a Dwarka pastime or a Vrindavan pastime, but it was Lord Chaitanya's pastime, and the people were like favorable. So we somehow, I don't know, somehow this summer I got a lot of enthusiasm for devotional service. I don't know how that happened, but I will speak about my speculations. Maybe it just happened by causeless mercy, but I like to feel I have a control So I will tell you about my speculations later. But I want to emphasize this principle. That's like how, like sometimes, you know, like the Raghaveda Prabhu says, like, what's Gopi Bhava? That's Shah Prabhupada entering the Chaladuta. And that's the pastime, how we can like really enter, like that's the opportunity for us, how we can really enter these pastimes in a like grounded, practical way. And that's really pleasing to Shah Prabhupada. So, of course, it's pleasing to him when we think of Krishna in any ways, but to like practically join this Sankirtan mission. We are a part of Sankirtan mission of Lord Chaitanya. So that means it's a preaching mission. So we are part of a preaching mission, and if we are not doing it, okay, preaching, politically incorrect word, sharing, whatever, it's a sharing mission. You get something good, so we get to share it, and the more you share it, the more you have it. It's a spiritual mathematic. It's not like a material mathematic. I have something, I share, and then I have nothing. It's a spiritual mathematic. I have something, I share, and I have more. How amazing! So if we don't do it, if we are like really selling ourselves short of the best part. It's like, because there is this like the sadhana. I'm not saying it's not the best part, but it's like doing the duty of following the four regulative principles and chanting 16 rounds. And of course, as the time goes on, we experience it more and more blissful. But then there is a treat, and it's this experience of plugging into the pastimes. So it's easier for me for sure when it's I never have such a nice kirtan indoor as outdoor. Yeah. Sometimes I even feel sad like for indoor kirtans, because like my voice, it's not as, you know, I cannot sing for 12 hours a day because then my voice starts to hurt. So considering like the limits that I have, sometimes I feel sad when I sing indoor, because I'm like missing out on singing outdoor. So anyways, so that's our opportunity. That's our opportunity here. And I think like this enthusiasm was always in me, but it was really locked. And I don't want it to lock again. I know it can happen. Blocked by like feeling tired or having no energy or having no time or feeling depressed or feeling sick. And I would go on Harinams. Of course, it's easier to go in two people because I don't have to sing all the time, but I can take a break when the other person is singing. But still, like I would go on Harinam myself, and I would like, it would be so much pain in my throat, and it would like be strangled, that I felt like I have to push like every word of the mantra by like really like a strength, not only like strength of my muscles, and it felt so exhausting. So even though the enthusiasm was there, it felt like difficult, you know. Somehow I had 2 months of like feeling easy. So that was really special, and I'm grateful for that. Like it will be a reference point experience in my life when the strain comes again. So of course we have a Bhakta here, as you know. We have Bhakta Irka, so that helps, because then we have a morning programs every day, and we have to cooperate with Yogeshwara. Of course, we fight sometimes during the morning program, but not as much as when like a witness is not here. So that's I'm sure that it's one of the like helpful things, and that's the mercy. You know, I didn't do anything to have the mercy of having a Bhakta here, and he's super enthusiastic. And he asks all these questions all the time. So he keeps us like Krishna Katha all the time. And yeah, so it's definitely like this like intensity. It's a helpful thing, and definitely this like external force helps. And then there was the Padayatra experience, and that was super. That was intensity. It was really intensity times 1,000. Like when I was like before the Padayatra, I was speaking with the organizer, and she described me the day, like how the day looks like. And I said, no way I can do that. Like originally I wanted to join the full Padayatra, and after I spoke with her, I was like, well, maybe a few days, I don't know, it sounds so much. And she said like, you will not feel it. I promise it will be like so ecstatic. I was like, no, she doesn't know me. I'm like really, like I'm like this like old tired person. I have to have my special diet and like a nice bed in the evening and my heating pad so I'm not cold. Like that. So I went, and all these problems somehow were there. Like I didn't have my regular diet, and I was cold at night so much so that I couldn't sleep most of the nights, and like I don't know, so many other things that I would normally. But it wasn't a problem at all. It was just so blissful. And the structure was so made that there was no space for anything else but Sankirtan. And we had fights and arguments, but they were just no space for them. Because like as soon as I would get in with someone into some crash, someone else would come and it was like, you do this, you do that. And everything was like always urgent to be done. So we, kind of like separated, and everyone did their whatever service was supposed to be done. And after that, what was the problem again? There was not. So the devotees shared a lot, like, there was time to, like during breakfast, for example, there was time to like have some exchanges. And the devotees shared, this is like the most, they do it every year for 30 years now. And they say this is the most special time when the devotees have together, and there is like practically no conflict. Like they also do like camps, like devotee camps, that devotees come for 2 weeks in the summer and are together, cook together, have morning programs together and things like this. But so much more fight there. So and I really appreciate the organizer, Nrsimha Chaitanya Prabhu. He was so dedicated. Like he really like kept everyone, or at least mostly everyone, like focused. And there were so many like ground rules. Like if you want to go in a Harinam, you are not chanting japa, you are not side talking, you are smiling and dancing. And if you don't want to do it, don't go. And I just loved it. I really loved it because it was so great. And I so don't like when there is a Harinam and then there is like a chit chat on the like whatever, or even like people like looking really annoyed. Like it's just like, and he was saying like, yeah, maybe it's pretension, whatever. Don't look at it as a pretension, as a service to Krishna. If we come to some village and we are looking like a group of zombies, like what's the point of doing Harinam really? And sometimes I was so tired after like 6 or 8 hours of walking in 100 degrees under sun, and then we are arriving in a bigger city, and they go like, Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, and then like the kirtan starts. So I was like, oh God. And I'm jumping up and down and like feeling all the cells in my body like exhausted, like the feeling like when there is no really like no more like the body is dehydrated and there is no like magnesium, and it's just, and like all the muscles like, so I can like relate it a little to the advanced center experience, but really not quite there. Because at least there is AC. I know that in early years you didn't have ACs, but still I have to plug my computer. So so there is like this like intense kirtan for like 15-20 minutes, and then they make an announcement like with a big amplifier, like invitation for our evening program, and then after that again, Shri Krishna Chaitanya. and again a wild kirtan. So it was fun. So why I'm saying that is it's like I think it unlocked something in me by this intensity. I never did like such intense, focused sankirtan really. It was, and then they reminded all the time, like because there are so many like families with children, and you know like so many like different whatever ideas about like how we should like manage the lunchtime, for example. And the leader, Nrsimha Chaitanya, was always like, this is a sankirtan, this is a sankirtan activity. And that's the number one why we are here together. So if you have problem with the time of the lunch, no, go somewhere else. That's simple. So I love that. So yeah, I never experienced intensity like that. Like if I went for Harinam for 2 hours or maybe 3, that was it. But here was like early morning, from early morning, and then morning program, and then till night, till late night. And then at night when like all the guests, we would speak with the guests, and then all the guests would leave. And then we were just like sitting and unable to move. We were just like staring at each other with these like wide eyes. Like people ask us so many times what we are taking as far as drugs. And we were like, we're really like incapable to do anything practical. That Nrsimha Chaitanya Prabhu, you will hear his name again, he was saying, first we need to be conscious and then we can be Krishna conscious. So he was like very like, also, okay, 10 p.m. everyone is sleeping, and if not, at least you are quiet and lying down like that. So, and we had a car accident the second day. Someone just didn't like we had people navigating the traffic. And then Devaka Prabhu, he just like was disrespected by the car, and they broke his leg. So it was, you know, there were things happening. It wasn't like, yeah, one time one of the oxes got like so tired that he slipped and couldn't stand up again in the middle of the road. So there were things. There are definitely a lot of things. So what happened there for me was 2 important things. I have to check the time. Oh, good. I still have some time. That's fun. So 2 important things. One was, like I mentioned, how I spoke with the organizer, and she told me about the schedule, and I really wanted to go to the Padayatra, that's the truth. And then she asked me, are you initiated? I was like, oh God, now she's going to ask me where's my guru, and she will tell me that I cannot go to the Padayatra. So I said, kind of. And she said, what do you mean, kind of? Like, do you chant 16 rounds every day? Are you following the 4 regulative principles? So I'm like, yeah. So she's like, see, you are initiated. That's good. Like, we need some people who are like, it's really nice that you want to come. So I was like, but then I shared that with Govinda Prabhu. And he didn't really like my response there. Maybe he liked it, but I didn't like his response to my response. So I decided, okay, I am going to be honest with the Padayatra people. So anytime someone asks me who is my guru, I will say, I don't want to speak about it. Or I will say, you know, whatever, like I had like some philosophical prepared things, but if I am too afraid, I will say, I don't want to speak about it. So at least I will not do this like concealing things. So I arrived at the Padayatra, and there were like 50 people whom I never seen before. And I got so much fear that I went to hide behind the corner and I ate a bag of potato chips. And then after eating a bag of potato chips, I felt a little better. I went back and I was immediately engaged in whatever. And then on day 3, I think it was day 3, that someone asked me, who is your guru? And I said, Srila Prabhupada. I was like, no, I didn't want to say that, but this thing came from my mouth. I was practicing. I don't want to speak about it. Anyway, so then she said, so you gave your name to yourself? You gave your name to yourself? And I said, no, like I got it from Srila Prabhupada during the ceremony. And then I had a first little conversation about Srila Prabhupada current link, and there were many of those, and it was always quite straightforward, like, Srila Prabhupada, okay, how comes? Well, he was doing it before the 77 like this, so he's still doing it. Oh, okay. And some there were like new Bhaktins and Bhaktas, so they were really like, wow, that's far out, I didn't know that. And then they were like some people who like knew, and they were like, if anyone gives you problem here, come to me and I will like protect you. So that was nice. And then there were like one person who like wanted to have like a philosophical arguments, emotionally charged about it, but somehow he never got time to do that. So that was my experience. But anyway, I think it's the first time that like I really like embrace that Srila Prabhupada is my guru. Like till then, and because especially of the fear and not like wanting to look bad and not wanting to like belong to some sort of camp and whatever was like these things, I was always like, yeah, well, maybe, but then through this Padayatra experience and also through like their arguments that were just so nonsensical. It's just, and then also Bhaktayirka was there and he was like coming to me like with some sorts of confusion, and I was like, this is so clear. Like it's just like came like so, I never experienced this like clarity, like 1 + 1 is 2. Like, so thank you, Dira Govinda Prabhu, for pushing me a little. And then like through this commitment of like, okay, I'm not, at least not like going to do this like hiding in confusion thing. It really came to, what's the problem? Really. So, and I also think I understood a lot about the psychology of wanting to have a living guru, but I will not go there now. And then the second thing that happened for me there, and I consider it like these 2 things, like my relationship with Srila Prabhupada and this second thing that I'm going to share. That's are my speculation. Why am I experiencing so much more enthusiasm or unlocked enthusiasm than before? Really, ever before. Like I think I had very much enthusiasm like this at the beginning, but it was so much Raja. Like, I am the doer and I am so good and everyone else is lazy and useless and I don't know. So not that this is not there. I'm not saying it's not there, but it's a different quality to it. Like the first year comparing now, like the enthusiasm, let's say the amount of energy I have to give is maybe similar, but the quality is quite different. So the second thing is this, like I really like somehow grew up with like the ISKCON is evil and everyone there too. And I think it makes sense because my first experience there was really painful. Like I was going there for a few months and then I accepted the formal initiation and I was kicked out. And it was really heartbreaking for me. And it took me 4 years to like even recover it from it, like somewhat like this, like feeling rejected and hurt. But I never really recovered from this is evil place. And whenever I would read in Srila Prabhupada books, like in ISKCON, you know, I don't know, we are establishing ISKCON for devotees to associate, I would always feel this like little repulsed in my heart. So then Mother Malini took me to a temple a few times this February. I was like, okay, they don't look as evil as I thought. I had definitely some transformation there, but it was still more like, at least like let's say intellectual seeing, yeah, like they are like really nice devotees, but it didn't like land in my heart, even though I was inspired by some for sure. But then in this Padayatra experience, it wasn't like that, like okay, I can accept them. Like I can feel superior and accept them or something like that. It really was like there were so many people who I like immediately accepted as my guru, like so like inspiring and senior in like so many ways, and like everything that they said to me was like a gem that I treasure. So it wasn't like on the level of like, okay, I'm a little superior and I have a lot to give them, or you know, I'm like, anyway, so friendships, a lot of friendships for sure, but like especially like coming to the platform of, wow, they are really inspiring, you know, and of course like in all groups are all varieties of people like that, but so that was a big transformation. And I'm really thinking that Krishna doesn't like when we don't like if you want a dog owner to be pleased by you, praise his dog. So I definitely wasn't doing it with Krishna's devotees. And now I'm going like, wow, these devotees are so special. And then also like I want to share that I shared in our readings that it's easy for me if someone comes to me for guidance, I can associate easy. If I go to someone to guidance, I can associate easy. But with like the so-called friends, it's difficult. And there were so many people on the Padayatra on that platform, not necessarily because it was true, but because we just didn't know each other well enough. Like with some, it was just obvious. I go to this person for guidance. I am so happy with it. And with some, they came to me, but mostly it was just like not even knowing each other. So how do you know? I was surrendered to whatever, because I was there for the first year, I was surrendered to whatever authority came like that. But so there were so many like friendships or newly coming up friendships. And I was thinking like, the thing what to do with friends is to serve together. What else? Like there is not so much inspiration of like, if I really consider someone as a peer and he's considering me as a peer, there will not be much of like churning, you know, this, like, of course, like we have Uddhava and Vidura here and they are doing it. They are both pure devotees. In a sense, there is no one like senior or less, but one is taking the role of asking the questions and the other one is taking the role of responding. So many stories like this in Bhagavatam. But for me, practically, it doesn't work because I don't have enough. I know it would be good for me, but I don't have enough submissivity to like ask and get like enlivened spiritually. I will more likely argue or think like, oh no, not like this. Did you even read that? Anyway, so but what we can do together with the peer people is to serve together, because there is no like impediment for that. So that's I was thinking that's the real spiritual friendship, to come together and do something together for Srila Prabhupada. And there was so much potential in that on the Padayatra when all the devotees, not all, but really from all corners. I didn't even know there are devotees in like so many corners of Czech Republic, and they come together. Like I have every town and village, really every town and village, but there is always like 2 or 3 come together for the Padayatra to this like intense service to please Srila Prabhupada together. And there was, I have goosebumps now saying that, how much potential was in that. Like when there is the one branch, it's so easily broken. But if there is like a bunch of branches, it's just like comes like a tsunami. It really felt like, I don't know, a tsunami came to these Czech villages and cities, and people, they couldn't resist. Of course, there were people who were not favorable, and we damaged the wedding of someone, and you know, all sorts of things. But they couldn't resist. Like we had like hundreds of people in the evening programs. It's just, and I think if they came to our village, that wouldn't happen ever. I live here with all like karmis, but now the potency of like. So attractive. Everything was so attractive, like the women in the saris, and the kirtan and mridanga playing, and then the cart with the beautifully decorated deities, and of course the oxes. It's just like we were walking a lot on like not highway, but like really traffic, a lot of traffic roads. I don't know how is it called, intersection, or I don't know. So there are like cars passing by all the time. I would think normally I would never have fun to walk on a road like this, of course. But it was just like everyone, like every car, they were like making sounds and waving and smiling. And like, I was like, this is Vrindavan. Like, what happened to Czech Republic? Where is my home? I'm in Vrindavan or something. So that's it. That's how we can plug. That's how we can plug to Krishna's pastimes. That's how we can plug to Krishna pastimes, because Krishna's pastimes are not different from Lord Chaitanya's pastimes and from Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, and it's really easy, very much available, and magic is happening constantly. It's so magical too. So yeah, so since the Padayatra, I think it seems Krishna kidnapped you. Yes, I do feel a little kidnapped. Actually, I was praying like that, like last year. I was praying, Krishna, please, you are the best chief, so please steal me. Because I will not give myself voluntarily, but you are the best chief, so if you could steal me, that would be good. So yeah, I do feel stolen. And so since the Padayatra, and I think that I did like freed myself from these two big offenses to Srila Prabhupada and to his devotees. And I feel free. I feel healthy and having energy. And when we go on Harinam, like before we would go on Harinam for like 2 hours maximum, and now we go for like 4 or 5 hours. And it's like, where did the time go? Like, let's do more. Let's do like a full day. And so, and it's really fun. And Krishna is sending so many people, like, I mean, relatively many, it could be hundreds, but I think in my mind, I'm really not ready to have like program for 100 people, to tell you the truth. But like Misha was here for Janmastami. She's like coming along packed in, and she wrote me, it was like in the temple, like I feel like in the temple, it was so nice, and every day I'm singing Hare Krishna now, and I wanted to take my friend to Govinda to sing Hare Krishna, that we would go together, but it was closed, it was so sad, can we come to you next time together? And her friend never sang Hare Krishna, but Misha just did the preaching, she got it. She got that when you share, you get more. So she came to us for the Janmastami. She went back to her friend, shared, and now they both come and like that. Bhakta Yirka's both parents now want to come to sing Hare Krishna with us. So all I need is that Krishna sends these great preachers, and I will just take care for whoever they bring. Hare Krishna. So Tatra Rita Starara Deva Kanyaha Gujena Društva Harimarta Bandum Utaya Sadhyo Chagrahu Praharsha Vrida Nuraga Prahita Valoke. There in the house of the demon, all the princesses kidnapped by Narakasura at once became alert upon seeing the Lord, the friend of the distressed. They looked upon him with eagerness, joy, and shyness, and offered to be his wives. And last thing I'm going to share, that I got offered from the Padayatra team, that if we want to have our own Padayatra and have a team, that we can do more. We can have the car and the oxes and everything. So just putting it out there. Padayatra Czech Republic 2023. We could even go to Germany. Anyway, so that's all from me. Hare Krishna.
I didn't quite understand the last thing you said. Like, so the Padayatra organizers in Czech are saying, if we want to have our own, I didn't quite follow that.
Okay, thank you. It's because they only do 2 weeks, because they are all people like employed, so that's their summer vacation.
Yeah.
And the capacity of the Padayatra is already quite too much, because like it's just like the technicality of like speaking with the villages, if like such a number of people can come, you know, and camp there or whatever. It's just there is a lot of like legal things around it. It's not as simple as it seems. Like I
see. So they're saying that like if you and Yogeshwar and Bhakti Yurka wanted to organize a Padayatra in Czech or Germany, that area of the world, at another time of year, they'll support you.
Yes, exactly. So that opens a possibility for the whole Sapatov community to do Padayatra in some of the European country. Or so that's what I'm saying.
They will allow the deities also to come?
Yes.
And
I somehow got their trust too. Not only they got my trust, I got their trust too. So they are open to like cooperate like that. Of course, everyone is invited to join the Czech Padayatra, the 2 weeks next year. But if it would be 30 people who wants to come, that's a little too much for what's already there. And that brings about possibility to have more. Just that if someone got a little interested after my sharing.
Yeah,
Krishna.
I know if I look at my entire spiritual life and services, definitely the most austere, the most intense, the most difficult time were the most ecstatic time. And, you know, when I went on Padayatra many, many years ago, it was raining every day, it was Belgium, gray, you know, whatever. And yeah, it really impacted me. It really impacted me. And again, like when I appreciate what I've seen, and even my time in Denver kind of confirms that, is that when Lord Brahma meditated, he was lost. He didn't know what to do. The word he used that he received is tapa, austerity, and austerity sacrifice. And that's the key for happiness and joy and freedom is to do austerity. And austerity is like voluntarily like accepting, you know, difficulties for the sake of serving the Lord. And when we do that, it's such an ecstatic, thrilling experience. And most of the time, our mind and senses tell us to not do austerity. The mind and senses say, let's be comfortable and secure. Let's be in our comfort zone. And so Padayatra and other such experience of the festival, for example, are a good opportunity also to step out of that and give 100%. And someone was sharing with me yesterday, someone who was like sick often, with a special diet and a special whatever all day long. I cannot do too much because I'm so sick. And that person was sharing how she decided to go to a big temple with like deities and thousands of devotees and to do service. And that person described like cooking all day for Janmashtami and then making so many prep for Janmashtami and being in the kitchen all day. And then next day waking up, doing Mangalarti and all that, and then cooking for Prabhupada Vyasa Puja. And she expressed how, and you know what? I did follow my diet, but I didn't follow any of my regulation. And I felt so much energy. And she said, I'm amazed because I still have that energy. With those festivals, Prabhupada really insisted on those festivals. And I see two reasons for that. One reason is for the devotee to step into those shoes of intense Tivrena, like really devotional service of giving everything I have. And of course, when I give everything I have, I receive 1,000 more times than what I give. And then because the festivals are very attractive to the senses of the newcomer or people who come to Krishna consciousness, they are so attractive, like the festivities are always attractive, like the people who came to your festivals at Padayatra. Then they were so satisfied. There was music and scents and beautiful people dancing and happy people and new people. And so it's so attractive to the senses.
Yes, I appreciate Mother Malini this point of like wanting to be comfortable, like this, like, well, I shouldn't do this because I would be too exhausted or something. And then to have this opportunity of, for example, the festival, okay, let's forget about it and just do the service intense. And then somehow so much healthier.
Yeah. And another thing I was just speaking to about dear Govinda Prabhu this morning at the end of Japa, we had a little exchange, and I was thinking of like, what's missing? I'm always thinking of what's missing. Maybe nothing is missing, but I know, like, I came to Krishna consciousness in the 80s. And in the 80s, it wasn't too far from 77. And so there was a certain mood still. So Prabhupada's mood was very much there. And there was something else also mixed in the middle of it. And that came, in the mid-70s, really. Early 70s, it started to have some sinister energy. But I remember the emphasis of people who were preaching to me was accept authority, accept authority, accept authority, follow authority, accept authority. And I appreciate in your sharing, you spoke about Nishanga Chaitanya, that's his name, Prabhu. And how there was leadership. There was a sense of authority, leadership. And when there is a leader that people can follow and accept the authority, like, yeah, you tell me to go do the dishes, I'm going to go to do the dishes. You tell me to sing and smile now, I'm going to sing and smile now. And I'm going to dance, and I'm going to go and cook, and I'm going to sweep the temple room. When that is there, and the devotee learn to accept authority and submit and surrender to authority, it helps to surrender to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. And when I came to Krishna consciousness, it was such a cornerstone to learn to accept authority and surrender to authority as a process to surrender more and more to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna. Mm. And I believe that in your experience, that aspect was also very important and was preventing the energy of the devotees serving together to be contaminated with so many things, fights and disagreement and gossip and so many things. Yes. And then the mind, because if I don't accept external authority, then my authority becomes my mind. That's who my authority becomes, my senses and my mind.
Yes, well, of course that was there too, but I plugged myself to the group who was obeying the orders. But there was some side also for sure. Yes, so I appreciate that. Like it would like completely fall apart if there was no authority. Like we would never like start on time to like leave to the other place. It would be impossible.
Mm-hmm. Like in the seminar, there is the authority of the facilitators, and that's why self-realization do happen. Mm. But if like people were just, I don't like that process, I'm not going to do it, I'm going to do it very differently because I think this process should be different. Or I'm going to take, well, yes, I see that principle, but it's not really true for me, does it apply with my situation? Then there will be no seminar. The seminar wouldn't have any effect on anyone. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yes. But because people, they sign the ground rules and they accept the authority of the facilitator or the facilitators, then complete transformation and happen, and then people, they follow through. Even if we go to sleep at 3 a.m. in the morning, everybody's in accepting authority. Mm.
Jai Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. Any other sharings or comments?
Hare
Anandini.
Krishna. Thank you for your class and for sharing. I feel very inspired and attracted about, when I hear you share about your life and Padayatra and Harinam and looking at my life and it's somehow, it's challenging, but it's somehow also a little boring.
Mm.
I feel very attracted. It feels so alive and full of, full of life and sparkling. And what I was thinking about is this accepting authority, what that means, and also in the text and in the purport where Srila Prabhupada writes that according to Vedic society, girls are transferred from the custody of the father to the custody of the husband. And I'm having a lot of realizations around this, seeing my daughters, like 12 and 14-year-old, and they feel so protected by their father, by Paramatma. And it's like they really seek his presence and his guidance and his wisdom, and more than they do with me. Like when they were small, I always said when they're young, that's my time. And I said to Paramatma, when they come to puberty, I don't know how you call it, youth, it will be your time. And I see that's happening, and they feel so safe and protected by him, and I feel like it frees them to, I don't know, discover life and discover, just learn and feel safe. So that's I'm beginning to understand, like the protection, or that it's about protection. And also in my relationship to Paramatma, for many years the relationship was, here is what I want, and you should better also want what I want. And life was very, like I was fighting a lot. It felt very, I don't know, very hard work. And lately, like, I decided to experiment more, like, okay, yeah, I can see my life going in so many different directions, and I don't know what's best, and I'll just, give more freedom to Paramatma to take decisions, to give him more space and to hear more what he wants and what is important for him and what he sees as wise, and I feel so much more relief, and kind of I feel freed to be softer and more surrendered. And it's not about giving myself up or denying needs I have or wants I have, or not expressing what's happening for me. It just feels very soft. I think that's the word. Soft, gentle. And not how I used to understand it, like, okay, so follow the husband. It's like I'm submissive or being submissive. It's I thought it's about denying myself and being weak, and I experienced the opposite. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for sharing, Anandini.
And also I see it as like I think Malini, you said it's in the end, or in essence, it's about learning to surrender to Krishna. And I can see that. It makes total sense to me, and that makes it all very exciting.
Yes, it's like in this process of surrendering more to Paramatma, you are experiencing the opposite than you would expect. Like, instead of like a self-denial and like minimizing yourself, it's actually like freeing you to be more peaceful and more yourself. like that. Yes, it's like there is so many of these contradictions, like Mother Malini shared this like intense service, like, wow, I cannot do it, I would like crash and die or something, but the opposite is true. Or in your experience to like accepting more and more this, like, I don't need to fight and like be the leader of the family or something, and then it creates opposite experience than you expected.
Yes, and I think it's about really about the body, like the nature of the body. It's better for my body, for my mind, for my emotions, to not push through what I want. This is my project, and this is what I think is best.
Mm. Mm.
And it's empowering and not disempowering.
Yes, yes, it's a woman. It's a nature of the woman body, and when it can be in its nature, then you are experiencing empowered and soft. Yeah, it's like I'm thinking like how in the Vedic culture the woman should always marry the man from the same caste or higher. So that's also helped this principle of like surrendering. Like if like it would work very difficult to work if the woman is a Brahmin like has Brahminical qualities and the man is Shudra, and then for her, but then still we have the examples of like Gandhari, that's her name, Dhritarashtra's wife. She still is so wise that she knows it's still better to like surrender to the husband than to like try to rule. But it's more challenge for sure.
To blind yourself because your husband is blind, yes. It's kind of challenging.
Well, I was also, a thought that crossed my mind is that it's not about blindly accepting authority, or just because this person is in charge, I will surrender to that person. That and I think I read somewhere where Srila Prabhupada said about women and, you know, like husband and wife, if the husband is not Krishna conscious, is not like, if his intention is not Krishna consciousness and his action is not according, then yeah, like then the wife shouldn't surrender to the husband. And similarly, like in all, I think that applies to any relationship or authority, like that we should be careful and intelligent in choosing the authority that we then like voluntarily surrender to.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And I am glad that you feel inspired by my sharing. It was a side intention. Okay, so if no one wants to share anything, then I thank you very much for your association and space to share. And Kvantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thanks for your enthusiastic sharing, Hladini Shakti. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Jai.